Hello, Shemai, and croeso to the Fathers of Metal podcast with myself, Daddy Hugh.
And myself, Papa Ben. Hi, Hugh. How's it going?
Hi, Ben. It's going really well, thanks. I'm wearing a vest tonight because it's really, really hot. We're having a really
Yeah,
good summer where we live in Barry, South Wales, of course.
it's
So,
been lovely.
yeah, it's been lovely. I've had a nice social weekend where at last I've been able to take the barbecue out since first time since about last September, October. So
Lovely.
I was, had the apron and prongs out this weekend. Very excited.
That'll be me next weekend, hopefully.
Do it, man.
So.
We're like, chef written on an apron
Yeah,
or something
yeah,
like that, I think so. Or Chef Hat from South Park.
yeah.
Hey, children. Anyway, so we're here tonight again. And the reason we're here tonight, of course, is because we are discussing topics within our series of top 5 videos. So what are we looking at tonight, Papa Ben? It's it's basically a contrast to, a polar opposite to something we've done before, isn't that right?
Yeah, so in a previous video, we actually did a top 10 best opening songs. In this video, partly because the length, nearly 2 hours long, was a bit too long for that one. This one, we're going for top 5 best or our favorite outro songs or tracks on an album. So by this definition, it doesn't have to have lyrics. It can be an instrumental, but we're not counting if the last track on the album is like 10 seconds long and it's just a bit of a soundscape. We're not counting that. It's got to be a full length track
song. Yeah. Okay.
It doesn't have to have lyrics, but it has to be a full song to qualify. So if we name a song and you're like, hang on, that's not technically the last one, in our eyes it is, because you can't, I don't think you could judge a 10-second soundscape, if you see what I mean. So that's the only criteria.
Unless it's a Napalm Death song, who knows?
That's a whole song, 10 seconds, isn't it?
That's a whole song, yeah, absolutely. So just a reminder to everyone, we are METALIDADS. So we are a network of dads. We love heavy metal music, and we sort of act as a paternal network for each other in a friendship group, and just give each other tips on how to be a better dad and how to be a better person. So if you're interested in joining us as an actual Metali dad, a dad who likes metal, then we are on Facebook. So www.facebook.com/groups/METALIDADS. We are on Twitter as well. We're on YouTube, hence why you're most likely watching our video right now on our Fathers of Metal podcast. And of course, Ben, we are now on Instagram as well as of this week.
We have, exactly. We've just set up a Instagram account, so you can follow us at METALIDADS. It's literally just type METALIDADS in on any social network and you'll find us, basically. All the links to those socials will be in the description anyway, so just go down there and click on stuff. While you're down there, hit subscribe, like, and hit the notification bell. So there's our shameless plug.
There's our shameless plug. Guys, if you got better examples or better top 5s, please let us know in the comment section as well. So again, neither Ben or I, we're not yet doctors of heavy metal. That would be the coolest title ever, as we keep saying. But we're heavy metal fans. We're expanding our listening. We're learning a lot about music, metal music, and we're learning, listening to a lot of new material as well. So there might even be quite newish tracks potentially in our top 5. Who knows? So so let's get started, Ben. So we've got basically 5 tracks each. We don't really. We potentially guessed each other's potentially based on our similar listening, but we actually don't know what our top 5 is. So we're just going to talk shortly about each one, but just very, very brief because we've got a lot to get through. So I'm going to go 5-1. And are you happy I go first?
Yep, you go for it.
Cool, tidy darts. So I think I've got basically. For my 5 answers, I've got a different answer a different genre of metal for each one.
Oh, lovely.
Now, I tried to keep it as varied as possible because I don't want to. I'm a big Metallica fan, so I don't want to put 5 Metallica songs on. But I don't think there are 5 worthy closing tracks of Metallica albums to be on this top 5. But the 5th one I've started is actually one it's actually from an album from this year.
Okay.
And this might surprise you a bit because it's a band that I don't know much about, but I've started to get to like them because of their newest album that was released in May 2021.
Okay.
So, Papa Ben, my 5th favorite closing track of an album is Grind from the album Fortitude by Gojira.
Gojira, yeah. I had a feeling this would pop up because if anybody has gone to watch the video of our album review of Fortitude, you will see that Hugh is a particular big fan of that song. You described it as more of an experience.
It is. It's hard to explain, really. It's the piece itself, it sets a brilliant sort of melancholic end to what is a really well-crafted piece of art, which is this metal album. Even though, as you said before, a lot of people think this is Gojira at this probably their softest, but still crafted,
more melodic.
and definitely more melodic. But the majority of the song, say 2/3 of the song, it is dissonant. There's plenty of crazy drums, plenty of alternate picking, etc. On the sort of the death metal element or end of the spectrum, what they do. So there's a lot of drama too. But then there's sort of about 2/3 through the song, this new melody just sort of comes out of nowhere, and it sort of just repeats. Very much like it's very minimalist. Almost like it prepares you to go into a trance or a sleep. Almost to an extent like a lullaby. So by the end, it's become so quiet. It is like a lullaby. So start something really, really heavy. It just ends again like a lullaby, and it doesn't go fade to black too quickly. It actually happens over a couple of minutes. It's a
good few minutes, isn't it?
So it is a good few minutes. There's probably way more potentially better quality closing tracks by Gojira in loads of their other albums, but I haven't given them the time of day yet to listen to them. But this one, as I've said to you before, when this album finishes, I've probably listened to this album now probably all the way through, maybe 8 or 9 times since it came out was it last month, wasn't it? May?
Yeah, only a month ago.
Yeah, only a month ago. So I've listened to it 8 or 9 times. But every time the album ends, I generally feel quite sad. So I think, as I said that in the previous podcast episode, so I think that basically made, because of me just saying what I just said, that definitely made it to my top 5. So my number 5 is Grind by Gojira from the latest album of this in May, the Fortitude album.
Lovely. Do you want me to do my number 5 now, and we'll kind of alternate?
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay. So I on my top 5, I have, it was tricky, but again, it's more of a funny enough, in a similar vein to you, I suppose. It's this is the last song of an album which is really quite it's quite dark. Subject matter wise is very dark. Tone is very dark. And this is a very melodic end to an album that's so dark, and even this song is very dark, but melodically it rounds off the album quite nicely. And this is the song "If Rain Is What You Want" by Slipknot, off the album The Grey Chapter, which is not the last one they've just released. It was the one before, 2017, I think it was. So this album is it's called, sorry, I seem to have something stuck in my throat there. This album is essentially it's a dedication to their late bass player Paul Gray, and this is a final song on the album. It's very emotional. It's as Slipknot as it gets. It opens in a very melancholy is a great way to describe the opening of this song. It builds and but the tone, everything about it is real dark and is very gloomy. Almost, well, Rain is, there's that kind of dark gloominess that kind of comes, and it kind of builds and then when Corey kicks in, it's very quiet, it's very kind of thing, and then it just builds until kind of there's like a kind of big finale at the end. Is very, again, just aggressive, it's dark, and then it kind of, the ending again just completely shuts down and completely rounds off. It's an excellent album. I'm a big fan of The Grey Chapter. Subject matter is very, very dark, and this is it's a, for me anyway, I consider it a perfect way of ending this album. I would say you don't want to listen to this song or album if you're already in a good mood, because it won't necessarily make you sad, but it will take the edge off that mood, if you see what I mean. But if you haven't already listened to that album, I strongly suggest you go and listen to it. And again, we've talked about this so much. songs, I mean, the song on its own is excellent, like pretty much all these songs on both of our lists are. But when you listen to them in the context of the entire album, especially an outro, when we do an outro and intro, when let's say with the intro, it's really it's got to make sense to the album. And this is a very, very good example of that. Yeah. And this is a very, very good example of that. It's excellent. And yeah, I just highly recommend you go and listen to it, but make sure you're in the right headspace at the time. So,
cool. I actually haven't heard that album. Again, Slipknot as a band, I've actually only recently sort of delved into. Again, I was almost too intimidated really early on in my teens to listen to it. So I've restarted listening to the earlier stuff, and I'm a big fan of We Are Not Your Kind, the one that from a couple of years ago. So yeah, I'll definitely check that out. Thanks for that recommendation.
If you like that, the Grey Chapter is I'd say it's a slower in terms of tempo and pace. It's slightly slower than We Are Not Your Kind, and it's definitely darker. You know, it's not like slow chuggy, but it's slower than that, and it's dark. There's a real darkness to it. But it's excellent. It is excellent. So yes.
Cool. That's so your number 5. So that's your number 5. That's correct. Thanks, Dan. That's another recommendation of a song for me to delve into. Now, again, I think nostalgia is probably the key theme for my top 5. Is basically albums I've known about for a long time and I've had a lot of experience with, or maybe at one part of my life they were overplayed almost daily for maybe a numerous amount of months type of thing. So my number 4, so I'm verging on to power metal now, which is or symphonic power metal, which is one of my favorite genres, or used to be anyway. So my number 4 is actually an album I put in my personal top 5 in our 2001 Rockerspective episode, and it's an album I don't think you've heard yet, because our list is so big of the albums we need to listen to do these shows. But my number 4 is the song "The Power of One" from the album Silence by Sonata Arctica. Now, Sonata Arctica, they are symphonic power metal, but they're one of those bands that actually don't sort of sing about kings, wizards, conquest and that type of stuff. They sing a lot about romance, which was a very unusual thing for bands to be bands of this genre to be doing. But the Silence is their second the second album, and it starts with a very quiet sort of magical piano intro with a element of drama to it rather than full happiness, sort of magic. And there's like a creepy old man talking on top, almost like narrating the album. So it sort of feels like a concept album, but it isn't. So again, it's a big nostalgia factor for me. I listened to this a lot when I went to university in 2006. It was the most listened out to album I had on my iPod, for those who remember what an iPod is. So the album, again, it starts with a mystical piano intro, creepy old man voice, and then it sort of the song ends actually in a similar way. So there's quite a few ballads on this album. A lot of people sort of slate the album for being too ballady. There's a lot, if you like piano music or film music, there's a lot of really nice sort of hooks and piano, just really tasty piano parts throughout the album. But there's really fast double bass pedaling power metal as well. So you sort of get to sort of, I think, I don't know how many songs, I can't remember how many songs the album, maybe 10, 11 songs. And then you think, all these songs have had loads of hooks, loads of melody, etc. You think surely they've got nothing else left in the tank. And then they pull out this 13-minute melodic epic called The Power of One, which has got loads of hooks in it again. And it just finishes with this beautiful piano ending. And again, a bloke talking. And then again, the title is called Silence. So you got silence actually as a part of the track. Which adds to it beautifully. So it actually ends very similar to how it starts. And it's a really, really beautiful way to end an album. It's got this almost like dark, mystic, magical type of thing to it as well. So that's my number 4. So my number 4, Sonata Arctica's, the song is The Power of One from the 2001 album Silence, which is a cracking album.
Lovely. Okay, so moving on to my number 4. I think you'll like this one. I wasn't intending actually to change genre types, but there is a few different genres in my top 5. So we're moving on to heading into the world, I suppose. If you could class it as either funk metal or rap metal, depending on how you want to categorize things. And so my number 4 is the final song on Rage Against the Machine's debut album, Freedom.
Oh, no, you didn't.
Oh yeah. This is a
Nice.
yeah. If this, I mean, if by the time you got to the end of this album, if you're not ready to go and start a riot, this
Yeah,
song
or
will do it at the end. You know, when right at the very end, when he's just screaming freedom at the end,
yeah,
like by this point you're like, right, I
yeah,
need to go start something.
yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Let's go start a petition.
Yes, yeah, a petition, of
Yes,
course.
yeah, sure. For the over 30s, that's what you do. You start a petition.
Yes. So yeah, it's just, I mean, what a way to cap off that album. Rage. I mean, Rage is that first album is legendary, and what a way to cap it off. Like I said, if you're not already pumped up and ready to go and like fight for justice by the time you've got to the end of this song will push you over the edge. Definitely, it's just it's just straight up like it's almost like it's what's the best way? It's almost like something out of like Braveheart, you know, where he's like giving some rowdy speech, and then at the end it's just like,
yeah. They'll never take our freedom.
Yeah, and he just
It's
and
almost
everyone's
like it's like a recruitment ad as well. It's like a thing.
It's incredible. Yeah, so you know it real gets you fired up and gets you going right at the very end. So yeah, it's excellent. So yeah, that is my number 4, Freedom by Rage Against the Machine.
That's amazing because you know not many bands have done the whole political theme as intelligently as Rage Against the Machine.
System are probably the next one.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'd say so. But again, intelligently, you know, a lot of punk people, a lot of punk. You know, it's covered in punk a lot as it is in thrash. But you know, it's intelligently done.
Oh, incredibly.
Lyrically, it's brilliant. It really is.
And just by the because of the sheer, like you said, the brilliance of their content. You know, it's, you know, when they were in their heyday, obviously you had like a lot of the media trying to demonize them as like these people starting this band who were looking to incite riots and that, and we obviously knew that, but like all you had to do was sit down for 2 seconds and listen to what they had to say, and you realize that they were just so, like you said, so intelligent in what they were saying that it just made anyone who tries to kind of demonize them sound like an idiot, because you're just like, well, you're the one, not you. You can't intelligently give me a reason for why I should hate them. But all these guys are doing are just portraying messages in such a intelligent way, you know, and such a just in such an easy way to communicate that. It kind of just makes anyone arguing against them look like chumps a little bit. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but yeah, excellent song.
Cool. That's a great number. That's your number 4, yeah.
It's my number 4.
That's a really good one. So, moving on to probably one of the first metal albums I have ever got into, and it's always had. I probably haven't heard this album in quite a while, but the ending track always just sticks out to me as being a very, just a very emotional way of ending the album. And when you listen to the lyrics now in retrospect, considering what has now happened to that band because of the death of the singer. My number 3 is Pushing Me Away by Linkin Park from their Hybrid Theory album from 2000, the year 2000. So
I forgot that's the last song on that album as well.
Yeah, it's again, you know, obviously for those who aren't familiar, of course, Chester Bennington took his own life. And it's weird, really, in one respect, because so many Linkin Park songs are about probably ending your own life and trying to crawl out of a space and stuff. And you're like, how did we not notice all these years later? So I think that the lyrics are, which Mike Shinoda, the rapper of the band, will say, "We're all out of time. This is how we find how it all unwinds." So you hear that sort of repeating towards the end, and it just. So again, it's got this. Again, I think we like melancholy, don't we? This another sort of emotional, melancholic ending in regards to, you know, that like the new metal guitar chords you have in it ringing out in the chorus. It almost gives it gives us a sign that there's a conclusion happening. The journey is shortly coming to an end. Like the song is almost pushing you away from the album, that it is pushing you away from reality, etc. So, you know, and again, it's lyrically demonstrated with what I just quoted. So again, you know, I know you and me got a very special relationship with that album because
it's an incredible album.
It is an incredible
I
album.
completely forgot. Otherwise, that would have gone in my top 5. I completely forgot that was the last. That was the last song on the album.
Yeah.
It's an incredible song, an incredible album. It's just can't really say anything better than that, really.
No, I've got nothing else to say more than that, really. But again,
Yeah.
it literally does what it says in the tin. And again, I think probably why I've got more understanding of the song now and more of a respect for it, especially as a good closing song in regards to the wider art, which is the piece of art, which is Hybrid Theory from 2000. It's the retrospect of what's happened to Chester.
Yeah.
Now people are sort of almost like now analysing the lyrics more now than they did before and thinking, Christ, it was all, that topic was always there type of thing.
There was always a cry for help. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, if you're crying out for help and you're a dad, you like heavy metal, join METALIDADS. That's what we're here for. So yeah. So that's my number 3. That's Linkin Park's Pushing Me Away from their 2000 album Hybrid Theory, which is of course their brilliant debut album.
Lovely, perfect. Okay, so moving on to my number 3. Interestingly, we are back to Slipknot, and I have actually gone for the final song on their latest album, We Are Not Your Kind, Soloway Firth.
Hello.
Yeah, this is
well done.
This is I mean, we talk about the songs. Well, okay, maybe not Freedom so much, but a lot of the songs on this on our list seems to be that melancholy style, that kind of just something to soften it, round everything off. This song does the opposite. This is like, oh, you haven't had enough yet? Well, I'm just going to punch you more type thing. It's just more, isn't it? It's, and that it's almost haunting, that opening. It's very like quiet, and it's pretty much just Corey's vocals with that slight kind of echo on it. And there's that build up, and then all of a sudden you just say that, and then the drums kick in, and it's like, whoa! It's just, this is the exact opposite to what we've been talking about into how to close a song.
Yeah.
Instead of rounding it off nicely, you've gone out. They've just gone out with a bang, and it's an incredible song. I just think it's such a well constructed song as well. If you just look at like how that musically it's put together, it just works so well. It comes across really dynamic. And yeah, this is kind of Slipknot at the moment at their most intelligent, if you see what I mean, in the way, you look at, when we looked back at 2001 with Iowa, that was just sheer rage. That was just pent up rage and frustration.
It was like, someone had a hot poker stick from a fire pointing at them, and it's just an annoyance, and that's their action, isn't it?
Just sheer. This is Slipknot at their most intelligent. I think, and it's just again an amazing way to finish an album, but you're going out with a bang on this one. And yeah, it's just absolutely incredible. So I stuck that in as my number 3. Again, if you haven't gone to listen to their latest album, We Are Not Your Kind, go and check it out.
It is brilliant. It really is. And I'm so happy for them that they've got that record on their list now.
Yeah.
Just because people thought, people have been around as long as them, they think, there's nothing left in the tank. But it was a fantastic way of just, saying, we're still the best at what we do. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Come on, excellent suggestion. Now, squeaky bum time now. So we've got the last 2.
Here we go.
I think we were sort of fearing that we might have the same sort of 2 answers. So I'm not sure if they are similar, but I'm just going to bite the bullet and tell you that the last 2 songs I have in my top 5 are both from the same year, and I might give you clues. The year 1984, which is my what I call my personal golden year in metal music. 1984 is my favorite year because my favorite songs, favorite albums sort of came out in that year, and mainly I look at this album mainly for a lot of bass work. And the fact that there's no one that sounds like this band whatsoever, because of sheer tone and just attitudes. They became a bit of a parody of themselves in the 90s and later, but in the 80s they were just awesome. And so my number 2, it comes from one of my favorite albums of the 1980s, which is Sign of the Hammer by Manowar, and the final track is Guyana Cult of the Damned. So I know, both of us are bass players. The bass work on this album is incredible. Joey DeMeo he's got quite a few different bass setups. So I think that the intro is performed on a piccolo bass, which is, I think, a bass with, I think, an octave higher string. So sounds almost flamenco-ish when it plays. So you got that sort of flamenco soloing at the beginning, but it's done by bass rather than guitar. So that's an incredibly slow, sort of really slow build up, almost like a musical or an opera.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
How it begins, and then there's there's hardly there's not much metal there at all.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, you just hear this massive wail, Guyana, and then
what a way to introduce the. If you're looking to introduce the chorus. This is how you do it. Although I've always wondered, do you have any idea why at the very beginning it says, "Thanks for the Kool-Aid, Reverend Jim"? What's
so
the
basically,
reference to that?
So, well, I don't know what the Kool-Aid is, but basically the whole song is about an incident that occurred in the 1970s where I think it was called French Guyana at the time, the country. It might just be called Guyana now, I can't remember. But basically there was a pastor from the United States who basically started a cult, or pretty much a cult or a settlement, small colony in French, I think it was French Guyana, and his name was Jim Jones, Reverend Jim Jones. So Reverend Jim Jones started this thing, and there's a movie that came out in the year 2011 called The Sacrament. It's a found footage horror movie. Basically, he made the entire congregation do a mass suicide by drinking poison. So it's a really creepy movie. Sorry if I spoiled the ending for you, but it's so famous. That's always going to be the ending. But so it's based on Jim Jones. So I don't know why Kool-Aid came from, but Reverend Jim is Reverend Jim Jones. So yes, it's a really dark topic.
Yeah.
Especially after most of the album is about Norse mythology.
Yeah.
So you got, of course, Thor, Thor the Powerhead. You've got mountains, and then you've got Sign of the Hammer, the Oath, etc. And then you've got, but this song again, the lyrics again are about a horrific event. It's a very, it's got a brilliant guitar riff. It's very groovy. It's a really slow beat. Yeah. And then there's a slight variation of it in verse with just bass and no guitar. Yeah. But again, the wailing chorus, just the shouting Guyana, and then
it's incredible.
It's got like almost like this
stirring.
Viking. It is stirring. It really, especially if you then know the topic, which is what I just explained to you. But then the ending, then it's a very Eric Adams ending because he's very famed for the scream, which he does. Very like the Judas Priest type of scream, but he just ends the album shouting "Mother" 3 times. Mother, mother! It's just a brilliant way to end an album, and I've got a major nostalgia for this album because it sort of pushed me to try and become a better metal bass player. Yeah. Along to Joey DeMeo's bass lines, and then equally then as a better singer. I couldn't do the both at once. It's impossible. But yeah, so my number 2, it's a song I love dearly, and I'm a massive fan of the album, and I do think this album is very overlooked in the metal timeline in regards to how much it contributed to, it's recognized in US power metal, USPM as the term is called. Yeah. But you hear a lot about like Bathory inventing Viking metal, but Christ man, this album came out in 1984. I got a feeling this had a major hand in what is now Viking metal. I think so. So yeah, my number 2 is Manowar's. The song is Guyana, Cult of the Damned from the 1984 album Sign of the Hammer.
Lovely. Okay, well, my number 2. This is interesting. I'm not going to beat around the bush. It's the same song. It's nice. Guyana. For me, I discovered this song a lot later. In fact, it was when we were doing our 1984 Rockospective, which is there's a playlist with all our Rockospectives on the channel. You can go check that out. And doing the homework for this particular year in '84, and I was listening to this album in the car. I had to go to Bridgend for something. I was on the way back. Oh, it's my first jab. That's what my COVID jab. I was on the way back, and I listened to about half the album there, and on the way back, I had like the last couple of songs, and yeah, I just remember driving, just kind of listening to it, but not taking it in because I'm focusing on driving. And all of a sudden, I hear that mighty guy. When he starts the belts out Guyana for the first time. And for a split second, I just completely lost concentrating on the road, and I looked at I looked at my
CD player.
I looked at my dash and proper pulled the the Christian Bale from American Psycho, that kind of, yeah.
My favorite meme. My favorite meme, by the way. Yeah.
It's amazing. Yeah, I was, what is this? And yeah, for that split set, I was like, oh, I'm driving, I better concentrate again. But I focused a lot more on what I was listening to on the way home, and then I got home and I re-listened to the whole album, and that particular song, Guyana, is just it's gone into like my mix playlist, and I quite often put it on because it's just it's quite musically, it's quite uplifting, that especially the first time you hear that. It's really like, oh yeah, I feel really good. I feel, subject matter maybe not so much, but the actual feel of the song,
now that you know what it's about, it's...
but feel of the song, if you just take feel alone, it's quite an uplifting kind of experience, so yeah, it's an excellent, and obviously all the points you made, it's an amazing song. So yeah, that's my number 2, Guyana, as well.
That's cool, man. Like I thought this would be the case. But yeah, so excellent choice, as it was mine as well. But again, I've got a massive nostalgia for that song, and I'm glad that you appreciate it in retrospect of only discovering it sort of now than I sort of did when I was about 16, 17, when I was first introduced to them. So here we are. So so again, this is our favorite closing tracks of metal albums. So we've all done 5 to 2. And now we've got just number 1 left. So I'm not sure if we've got a similar one again. But just a bit of background. This song is actually from my favorite single album of all time. And I think
I know where this is going.
Closing song is a big part of the reason why. And this was probably the first song I had a consciousness how good this song was to close an album. And I've pretty much always held this song on a pedestal type of thing, or this is the bar that was raised. And to be honest, there hasn't been a song that has come close to the feeling the song gives me as the final chords are being played out, or the mood it gives me for the entire song. So my number 1, my favorite of all time closing track of an album is Call of Cthulhu from Metallica's Ride the Lightning album from 1984. I don't know if I need to explain. So it's it's very dramatic, and this
is an instrumental. Just to point out, for anyone who doesn't
again,
know.
that's what makes it even more unusual. The fact is, again, instrumentals aren't really taken that seriously. It's high up in lists and famous conversations, I suppose.
Yeah, and especially 1984. We're talking right at thrash metal's prime.
Yeah,
nobody would think to do an instrumental.
No,
nobody had that thought apart from Metallica, and more importantly, am I right in saying it was who?
It was Dave Mustaine had the biggest hand in this song. Yeah,
he had main writing credits on that. Yeah,
yeah.
So
it's good to point visionary. That out. Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. It's dramatic. The word epic. The word epic gets used so often, but this, if I could try to describe the word epic in a song, this song always comes to the forefront of my mind. Just the ending of the song, you've got the sound of very subtle sound of timpani, which plays only for 3 or 4 seconds, but just that 3 or 4 seconds, it just brings this amazing level of drama to it. And again, because the fact it's an instrumental just makes it amazing. And I don't know if you've seen that movie Spinal Tap, but they see the D minor is the saddest chord of all time, but they finish that ending riff is in D minor, and it does have that element of real the power yet sadness to it. But I've told you this before in the 1984 Rock Perspective when we discussed this in our sort of big 5 albums of that year. And I have a strong visual every time I hear this song. It's almost like I feel like I'm running through the jungle. I've been chased by a monster, and the monster is represented by the sound of Cliff Burton's wah-wah pedal bass. I don't know what it is, but that's always the forefront of my mind, because that's the visual. It's almost like an impressionist painting. It just basically paints that same picture for me every single time. It's
funny you say that. Do you know what comes to my mind when I hear this song? Aztec.
Oh yeah. Well, of course, I think just the word Cthulhu.
Yeah. But it's even the sound and the feel of it. It's that Aztec almost. Yeah, that comes to mind. It's those the Aztec pyramids in the jungle. And...
absolutely. Yeah, me too. I don't know
it's a jungle feel about it.
Yeah. It definitely. It's a very niche painting that gets painted in your mind, but it just somehow does. It's very unusual.
Like, people talk about, I mean, this almost might sound ridiculous to some people, but to me it doesn't, and this is the beauty of music, is everyone can have their own taste and all be correct. You think of, if you spoke to someone who's into classical music, and you ask them what would they class as a classical masterpiece, and Beethoven would get brought up. And I'm trying to remember, I have a classical background, and yet I can't remember most of it. Beethoven gets brought up a lot, and off the top, I can't even think of any more off the top of my head, completely gone. But what I meant by that is, there's a select number of composers that will get brought up, and absolute master classes of classical music and classical writing. This is as masterful as something, like, in its own way, as what you'd expect to hear from Beethoven. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
In its own way, this is the metal equivalent of Beethoven, if you see what I mean. And it gives credit to Dave's ability to, this is insane levels of creativity that's gone into this, because we're talking about thrash metal here.
But it's not necessarily the technical ability. Just
no, it's just the vision.
It's the vision and a sense of originality. Because if you listen to the song, it's incredibly repetitive. The riffs come back and forth, or they're going on and on and on and on. But somehow you're sucked tension. You're right.
The longer it goes on for,
yeah, absolutely.
It's like I say, it's like being chased through the jungle by something. But the longer it goes for, you get that sense of that thing is getting closer. That thing is getting closer. It's getting closer. It's getting closer. It's getting closer. Like, it's almost that kind of feeling to it, which adds to that kind of tension, I suppose. But yeah, in terms of the writing, this is, for me, this is the metal equivalent to what you would expect to be written by something like Beethoven. And I'm sure there's somebody who likes classical who will think I'm talking complete bollocks. But as I said, that is the beauty of music. You can have an opinion and be absolutely correct about something.
Absolutely.
So it's lovely.
Cool. So that's my number one, is Metallica's Call of Cthulhu from their 1984 album Ride the Lightning.
Lovely. It's a pretty good one. And as we were discussing on chat, just before we started this recording, that was almost my number one as well. But for the interest of keeping things a little bit more interesting, I took it out of this list. Although if we did another top 5 outros, I have to stick it in that second one. But just keep it in. But equally, my number one is, I've chosen this one for sheer impact. There is no song that comes remotely close to the level of impact this song has. And yeah, it's as I said when I talked about listening to the Grey Chapter as an album, this is a song that I absolutely like. I'm not just saying it for the sake of saying it. I implore everybody to listen to it, but for the love of God, do not listen to this on a whim. Do not. I promise you, it is not. It will mess you up. Do not, like, you really have to be in a proper headspace to listen to this one. But my number one, and again, it's the sheer impact this song has. It's Daddy by Korn.
I knew that was coming.
It's there is no song, nothing, because the difference is, any song that tries to touch on these subjects, any song that's written tries to touch on this subject, will never have the same impact, because this was Jonathan Davis talking from personal experience, and then halfway through the song, he just completely breaks down and starts freaking out. And what you're hearing on the track is him genuinely breaking down and screaming and crying. For those who don't know, I'm going to very, very, very briefly tell you why. But please go and research it on your own time to get the full extent of it. But again, please be in the right headspace. I'm not messing around. This is not a song that you should take lightly. This is a song that he talks about his personal experience with it was a babysitter who sexually abused him as a child. And when he tried to tell his father or his parents about it, they wouldn't believe him, and they kept leaving him with the same babysitter, and the abuse happened over and over again. And this is him finally being able to kind of get it off his chest and tell everybody what happened, basically. So the song, there are songs that are better written, more technical, more this, more that. Nothing comes close to the level of impact this song has. We are talking, it's not even from the heart. It's from a very dark place, this song.
It's like a witness statement in a song.
It is. It absolutely is. It's something else, to the point where, as far as I'm aware, he has never performed this song live.
No, I believe you're right.
I believe, and he said
he refuses to.
He refuses. He said he absolutely won't do it because it's not for that. It was, like you say, it's almost a witness statement, him getting his story out there. It's not something he wants to keep going back to. He's kind of healed from it. This happened a long time ago, and he's healed from it, and he's moved on, and he's kind of accepted it. But it's there on paper, on track, for you to be able to go back and listen to it. But the song falls apart halfway through. It's a song. It's dark. It's extremely dark. Like, I'm not going to quote the lyrics. The lyrics are, it's not the right place to do it. But just go and listen to the song. Go and have a look at the lyrics. Please be in the right mind space when you do it, though. But yeah, halfway through the song, it's quite a long. Like, the actual track, I think, is about 12 minutes or something. It's quite long, but that's because basically halfway through he can't finish it, and he completely breaks down. Essentially, the band are just left playing, and he just goes quiet, and you almost get that, like, even though you can't see it, you can feel that there's an awkwardness, that there's almost that, should we be carrying on? But then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he just starts, you just hear him crying, basically, and he's screaming, and he's just letting it all out. And that is just sheer raw emotion, not in the same way, that's the wrong way to put it, but in a similar fashion to when we talked about Iowa, the song Iowa, Corey, to get the same level of, to get the intensity that he needed out of the song. He was naked, he was throwing up all over himself, and he was cutting himself, he was self-harming while performing the lyrics to that song to get that kind of feel that he wanted. It's that, we're talking, it's that level of it's that kind of place that this song is coming from, that these lyrics are coming from. It's from a place that you never want to go near you, ever. But the fact that he was brave enough to put this on a record is testament, I suppose, and it is something to it's something to go and experience. And I do think, not everyone, but if you're sensitive to these things, maybe not.
Yeah.
But if you think you can handle it, I absolutely think everybody should at least experience this song once, because you will only ever have to listen to it once, and you will remember it for the rest of your life. I promise you.
It's like watching a really extreme horror film. You've been there, done that. You've had the experience. It's like watching a Serbian movie or Human Centipede. Oh God,
yeah.
You don't need to watch it again.
No. So but there's nothing that comes close to that level of impact, and this is why I put it as my number one, because it's become legendary. That he won't because he won't play this live. It's not played regularly. It's kind of it's just there. It just exists, and everyone knows it exists, and everyone kind of just accepts the fact that it's there, and everybody kind of just not tiptoes around it, but just kind of moves around it and adjusts it. But everyone knows it's there and it does exist. But at the same time, if you're talking about finishing an album on something, that is a, you're not even coming close to finishing. That is not how you finish an album. You absolutely don't finish an album like this. Because it does exist, and this is the last song on that album. You don't want to listen to anymore once you're done. This is, once you've listened to this, it's you absolutely do need to take a moment to reflect, and kind of you are probably going to be done with Korn for the rest of the day. You'll probably need that kind of break,
But you'll be curious about starting again the next day. It keeps the topic and the band and the music on the literally on the tip of your tongue, I suppose.
And considering this was 93 when this album came out, is
Yeah,
that
yeah, 94. That's right. Yeah,
94. So this is another level of
just topic, just topic on an album. This raw.
Yeah. So apologies for bringing the tone down of the thing, but I feel but again, like it deserves it.
It's good that you describe this topic because it is. So it's basically about child abuse, effectively. It's a first-hand account of child abuse just being turned into a metal song.
Yeah, basically.
But again, as you said, it is. I think that I read an article, I think today actually, about the particular song. I'm not familiar with it enough to have included it in my top 5, but I think when the band stopped playing their instruments in the song, the band actually go up to Jonathan Davis and actually give him a group hug.
Yeah.
Because, there's that element that actually happens, I think, in the track itself. It's difficult to hear it, but I think that does happen.
The end of the song is just him sobbing. It's not even crying. The ending is just he's just sobbing, and it just fades out slowly, type thing, and it's probably around that moment that they give him the group hug. But yeah, it's this is heavy on another level,
I like that. Heavy on another level, definitely. So Papa Ben, is there anything else you'd like to add on to ending of tonight's episode?
No, I don't think so. I'm happy with my choices. I think you've got some awesome choices as well. I can't believe I forgot. I honestly can't believe I forgot about pushing me away.
Pushing me away.
I can't believe I forgot that was the last song.
But it's like when we did an episode, top 10 intro songs, which is like a 2.5-hour show. I completely forgot about Slipknot's "People Equal Shit." I thought, I'll forget about that song. But there's so many songs, there's so many albums. Some of them are just going to escape you, of course. But that's the nature of the beast, I suppose. Anyway, so thanks so much for listening tonight. So this was our top 5 closing songs for metal albums. So Papa Ben gave his top 5, and I gave my top 5 as well. Yep. So I hope you enjoyed. Again, keep your eye out for future content coming up soon. So, no matter the podcast topic, whether it's whammy bars or weaning, napalm death or napalm death or nappies, it's always good to talk. So from myself, Daddy Hugh.
And myself, Papa Ben. We will see you in the next video.
All the best. Look after yourselves. Cheers.
Bye.